Yo, 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 yo. We're in the building. What's going on? Yo, yo, it's DAB. We're in the building. Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Oh, perfect. Perfect. That's a good angle. Perfect.
I just downloaded the app. So
Ah, okay. All right. So you already know what it is, people. We're here for another exciting episode of DAB. Today, I want to talk about a concept that me and my brother been hinging on the edges of for a little while now. This was about maybe 6 months ago. I was dabbling with sleep, not sleep aids, but better ways on getting to sleep and modifying my sleep in terms of trying to reach another level of consciousness, right? And in search of like spirituality and all that, I stumbled upon um, out of body experiences via different videos on YouTube and different gurus and things like that. So I ended up having an experience one night, and this whole video boils down to me actually telling my brother about this experience. And when that happened, it was something I never experienced before. Whereas though, after a certain time, I'm gonna cut that out. There's a fly flying around here. It's pissing me off. After a certain time, um, listening to these different sound waves and frequencies, I actually entered like I don't know if it was a dream-like state, but I entered a state, and I literally felt myself propelled above my physical body. So I felt myself actually leave my body, and I haven't really researched about other people's experiences during out of body experience, but when I did notice myself was that I was surrounded by complete darkness around, and the only visible thing I could see there was like a tube of like a ball of light that was only surrounding my body, so I could literally only see like imagine when you see those images of a submarine, and that's the best way I think I can explain it. When you see those videos of a submarine and it's at the bottom of the sea floor, right? And you can only see what that light is beaming on at the bottom of that sea floor. If it's a crab, crustacean, those life forms that can only exist at certain pressures below sea level. I mean, at the bottom of the ocean. That's kind of how my out of body experience was. That the only thing I could see was myself. Everything else was complete darkness, and so that kind of freaked me out. And the reason I'm bringing up this comparison or analogy of this C4 is because, um, bro, you told me about the eternal subject notion called the eternal waters. So it's weird. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, was I in the realm of the eternal? Like, is the space between basically going into an out of body experience when you're in that space is the stuff that's surrounding you in the eternal waters? Like, I want to further elaborate on that. Like, I think this goes into creation, dreaming, a whole bunch of stuff. Like, you hear them talk about the ether, like all of this stuff. Like, is that what we're dealing with? Is that first of all, I just want you to, what are your thoughts on basically my experience, what I told you about, and um, your experiences, if you've had any, and then we can go into like this topic of the eternal water. So just go ahead with that, starting out first.
okay. So you can hear me, right?
Yeah, if you could turn up the mic a little bit. Let me see if I can do that here.
I think you should be able to. try to talk as loud as possible. Um,
Uh,
yeah, so I can't really. I mean, your experience is your experience. I mean, I think we all those that
right.
are really into this. I think that you either have it or you don't. I think that we all experience it in different ways. So your experience that you were telling me about, we're always conscious of things that are going on. The question is, are we aware at that moment and at that space of time of what's happening? And most of those times can't fully be explained because it's never really talked about. You get what I'm saying? So yes, I do believe that it is a. I definitely believe that there's different realms that we can go to. It's no different than like flipping the channels on TV.
Um,
Nowadays we have like Netflix, but you remember the different channels that we had. So it was kind of like it's kind of like when we're in the dream realm, we we basically flip to whatever channel we're going to. Now we decide, but that's where the awareness comes into play. You have to be aware of what you're choosing. And it's no different between here and what we call the live realm here, the 3D versus 5D, all of that good stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're able to do. The one thing that I've noticed is everything is kind of like scuba diving. It's kind of like when you're wandering around and you're looking at things. That flotation, if there's any flotation, that flotation kind of represents, like you're drifting through the sea. So that's where the whole infinite waters come from because I believe we're in the infinite waters. We just aren't aware of it. What we call air, what we call breath, is no different than a fish, breathing in the water. You just have a lighter density. And then as you go into outer space, that's probably the heaviest density possible. So heavy that we can't breathe. And up to the whatever we call implosion, right? So even when we're in these dream realms, when we're in these dream realms, we're still in the infinite waters because we're being
so,
taken
so,
into a
so let me ask you a question. You're saying that the infinite waters is the dream realm in a sense.
and everything.
Bro, is there a way you can like speak into that speaker a little bit?
No, sure. Hold on.
Just so it can get louder so that the recording can pick you up.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Oh, that is perfect. That is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's everything.
So,
It's not just the dream
uh,
world. It's everything. Like we're in it right now. We're
the
we're
eternal
sitting
waters.
in it. The eternal waters. Yes. So like how we don't fully understand what gravity is, right? We don't have
Okay.
that concept. It's kind of the same thing. You know what
Okay.
I'm
That
saying?
just
Like the air is a combination of different molecules, um different elements, right? You know that there's hydrogen in the air, there's nitrogen in the air, right? There's oxygen, all there's carbon. All of this stuff mixes and makes up what we call the infinite waters. This is just it's kind of like a pool. You know how a pool has the shallow part, then it's got the middle
right.
part, and then it's got the deep end. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I reference it. So
And
just like
with the deep reference. Oh, sorry. When you come in, I mean, I'm having all these questions.
yeah,
So the deep, would that reference the unknown or things of like other natures, otherworldly forces, paranormal stuff? Is that what the deep was? The deep part of the eternal waters would reference would to
um,
as
um, I think that it's kind of like different areas. Remember, we used to watch like the paranormal stuff.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Like I remember when you introduced me to that Disney Channel, So Weird. Do
Was
you remember that show?
a show on the Disney Channel?
Yeah.
It was a show on the Disney.
Yeah, So Weird
So,
with Sophie, or what was her name? Fifi. And then she had a brother.
okay,
Her mom's was a rock and roll star.
okay, okay, yeah, man. You know what happened with a lot of Disney Channel stars too.
Oh man.
Man,
But do you
I
remember
mean,
it?
hey, man, those, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's not even. I didn't mean. That's not a joke. I mean, those people probably went through some road. That childhood star stuff is crazy. Uh, no shots at anybody like that.
Maybe, but I'm
Right,
just referencing that show
right,
because
right.
that's when we started learning about the EMFs, right? That's when we started learning about they were reading the activity through electrical tools that
Wow,
and
I'm gonna
radiation.
go back and check that out. Okay, okay,
Well, even when we
okay.
used to watch like Ghost Hunters, you remember Ghost Hunters? Or
Ghost
am I
Hunters.
saying
Like,
too
oh,
much?
um. No, I mean, I definitely do remember Ghost Hunters was like it was on Paranormal the channel Paranormal Activity. I remember Ghost Hunters. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Sci-fi. You remember we used to watch sci-fi and all those things? Well,
Of
anyway, all I'm
course.
saying is
Of course,
this.
like maybe like specific shows on those channels. Like I like what the question that really comes up to mind and is when you just said like gravity or air, things that we can't see that are forces. Is the eternal waters cannot classify as its own separate force, like gravity, electrons, neutrons, protons, like all of that stuff is the eternal waters can be signified as another force. Maybe it's something that we don't have a technical skill or a technical chart of right now, but is it actually can it be a scientifical real uh, anomaly, like a scientifical real I won't say plane of existence. I'm not even talking about anything
It's
hoogly
all
woogly.
of that.
I'm talking about something actually real in science that just like you just mentioned gravity. I think that this eternal waters thing. I think that it might not. I mean, science might not call it the eternal waters or whatever, but I actually think that it's a physical force that can access and that we don't know the depths of what's in that shit, like what's in those
Right.
waters. That's what I feel, and because you can go religious texts all over the world and some of the other theories that are out there, not necessarily in religion, talk about firmaments like and waters being above whatever firmament. So like we've never been to deep space. Your average person, we don't even know. Like you're talking about conspiracy theories, if the moon landing was even really real, like all of that stuff. But it's like, okay,
I'm not even into that.
uh, is outer space really like a deep ass ocean? Like we don't know. I've never been to space. You've never been to outer space. Us natural people, normal
But
people
we
that are
know the
not in the government.
feeling. But we know the feeling. So that's what I'm
Okay, explain that.
saying. Like, okay. So sometimes So, like, for example, can I tell the story about Trunks?
What DBO? Go ahead. I mean, this was DAB, dude. Anything anime,
All
cosmic,
right.
sci-fi, we
So,
gotta get into it. What?
I
Like, come on,
believe,
man.
okay, so this is the reference, right? What you're saying is correct. I believe that when we go out into space, if that's possible, it's a deeper
Mhm.
ocean.
Right.
Just
I
like
believe that too.
they started talking about how there's an ocean underneath the ocean.
Yeah,
So yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's different pressures, there's different systems. So the eternal waters, when I use that word, I don't know if anybody else is using that word. I just call that to describe all of this.
I
You might
tried to look
call
it
it.
up.
And what did it say?
It it's the name of some like literally it's the name of some version of bottled water.
Oh, okay.
But
I've
yeah, no,
never
I
heard of
thought it
that.
was a thing of the way. I've never heard of it either. It's like that's
Yeah,
interesting though. I think that I think it's out there. Like amongst the people that do all the hermeticism and the all those other fields of study and practice. I think they have a name for it. I haven't yet found it. Maybe I'm gonna do some
well,
research on it. But I like these kind of videos because it's like me and you could do these videos, and then later on, like how we were just talking about where the content will come from. It's like we do these videos, and then I do like a short sketch film or whatever off of it. I mean, and
yeah,
that helps with like everything that we're doing, the acting, promote publications, storytelling. It's and I can use that stuff as I can use that stuff as mom, can be in the camera. What are you looking for? Hers. Phone. Never mind.
yeah. You want to
Oh,
transfer that energy.
right.
You want to transfer that energy and that information into what we call the eternal waters. And
Okay.
that's the manna. That's the, like, I just believe that just like when we see lightning strike, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
going through the eternal waters, it's going through the air and space, but it's collecting energy as it's doing that. We can
Right.
utilize the same techniques by our thoughts and our actions to create that energy to allow whatever it is that we want to quote unquote manifest to become what it is.
Okay. Understand. Gotcha.
Like it's a reference to, like the little engine that could, if you think about it, the little
Okay.
engine that could had to go through that space, and it was hard, but then eventually it caught the downwind, and now energy's working with it, versus the perceived perception of it working against us or working against the train. I want to tell that story about I want to tell that story about Trunks when we were younger, because we didn't know about Trunks for real,
Yeah, he was a
but we
mystery.
knew. Yeah,
He was a mystery.
yeah. This
We
was
knew
before,
DBZ.
right? This was just on
Yeah,
the cusp of internet being
getting to the home.
available to,
Right.
yeah, the homes.
Yeah.
So
Yup.
we were
Yup.
talking as if we already watched Trunks, but the fact of the matter really was that we were in tuned with the information that was floating within the eternal waters. Now, whoever brought
Oh, okay.
that
Because somehow
energy
we knew, but
over,
we didn't know. Right.
right?
Right.
But
Okay.
somebody brought that energy over and we just tapped into it.
Right.
It's kind
So
of
for
like,
people that it was very rare because during that time in DBZ, I think Toonami might have aired. It had been up to maybe the Freezer or the Cell Saga, and
we're talking
Freezer
about
hadn't been
before
out.
that.
Yeah, so people
Yeah,
was talking about even before Super Saiyan came out. There were images of what was going on in Japan, and the real DBZ fans were coming up with theories amongst each other, you know. And this was
Well,
happening when we was in Muncie all the way up to Georgia. We was talking about our friends out and knew anything about DBZ, like yeah. So I feel
but
like you're right. We already
what we didn't know was that they were buying seasons, but in Japan, they are already 7, 8, 10 seasons ahead of us,
oh yeah.
just like the Naruto thing.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. But we were tapped into the information, and all I'm saying is it's the same things like yesterday we were watching about sharks and in the
Mm-hmm.
water. How do they know where their prey is? Well, they use electromagnetics through the water. That's why water's so conductive, right? So you also have to think about this. There's water in the space that we walk around in. We
Right.
breathe in oxygen and we create water within us because of all those mixtures through what they call the mana or whatever they call it. I'm just calling it eternal waters because that's what gives birth, right? It gives us the information for the knowledge or for whatever thoughts that we're thinking. These thoughts aren't ours. I don't believe that. I believe that we catch on and we hold on to things like when they talk about uh how was it Peter who was a fisherman?
Right.
You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
why? Because we're always catching thoughts and then we're perceiving these thoughts through our emotions, which are electrical charges. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm right
So
there.
so even in the dream world or in the different dimension, it's all within this eternal water. So we're getting information from different, like you saw the whole purpose for Black Bow. That was in a
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
different dimension that you were looking at live, and you were descriptive of how it looked because you could really see it.
Right.
Once you
Somewhere
can,
in a vast universe, Black Bow's world is real.
yeah, you're the author.
Wow. That's crazy.
So everything
Somewhere
it
that's
can't be
going
put
on,
together.
like in a cartoon universe somewhere. That's cool.
Well, where does that we don't know where the energy comes from, but we're
Right.
given the gift to see it and then we act upon it, and that's what gives it the life. That's what gives it the animation. The
Right.
constant thoughts are like the energy transfer. So I'm pulling
Yeah.
this from, we don't know. We don't know where they're coming from, but we do know that atoms do appear and disappear. Where are they going? Because you don't, once again, we were taught that energy can't be created or destroyed. So where is it coming from? And I don't think we need to be concerned where it comes from. It's just how accurate we're being once we get what we suppose is a good idea. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Right. I got you.
It's no different than it's a different plane. So this is what we call 3D. And when you can play mental chess, which probably means something to the extent of, you know, like how do you structure your day? You know, when I'm looking at how my day's going, I'm looking from three different perspectives to try to
Mm-hmm.
capture all the different sides so I can be mentally and physically prepared. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? When you're prepared, yeah, y- you're prepared for every obstacle. So why not think as big as possible, you know? Um
Right.
yeah.
That makes sense.
But all of these are
I'm sorry, guys. This is
electric current. Go
electric
ahead.
current. Yeah, energy moving,
Yeah,
electric currents. Yeah.
it's no
I
different
mean,
than how the whales talk
the
to
brain
each
runs
other
off
through the
so
water.
right. Yeah. So do dolphins. Yeah, and they
Right.
even think dolphins. It's crazy when we now let's talk about that. They even talk about how dolphins might have some type of psychokinetic or psychic connection or telekinetic telekinetic way of communicating with each other um, through the water. So that
What?
that's crazy. They even say that's illegal to try to communicate with dolphins. I think I actually looked that up, and that's actually a thing.
Yeah.
That's
But what if it?
it's mind boggling. That's
Right.
crazy.
So this is what I'm saying. The eternal waters are dictating certain things. Like, for example, there's a hurricane that's quote unquote, you know, starting as a category 3, right?
Oh yeah,
That's
it says
part,
near you guys, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's part of the eternal, in my opinion, that's part of the eternal waters, because now the sea is being raised into the air, creating a storm, creating clouds and stuff like that. You know,
Right.
that's energy. That's
Right.
energy. We can collect that type of energy around us,
Okay. Okay.
and we can use that to project whatever dream or whatever process we need to keep the game going in our favor. So, for
Gotcha.
example, I was explaining to this kid who's producing and all this other stuff. I go into my rants sometimes,
Yeah.
but
Right. Right.
do I even want to tell the story? I'm drawing a blank now, bro. I'm sorry.
Side note, to fill in for that,
I'm drawing a
I'm
blank.
just excited because this is the first of I think now it's been my brother knows I've been struggling with forming the type of blueprint as to how we're supposed to put out our content. So the cool thing about it, if you see me like looking at the camera and then looking down at the screen, it's because it's the first time me actually using a professional like streaming platform to do these episodes, and I'm just glad at the quality. Well, my side of the camera. We're gonna work on my brother's next, but it's just this time me using my professional camera to do a stream, and I didn't know how to do this. I've been contemplating back and forth, but I'm just excited because this looks great. And imagine when we're in the same studio doing this, but we got high hopes for this brand, and I think that the format will be sort of like this: us coming on here, doing a discussion about something that I can then take and make into a form of real piece of content, a piece of a story, and maybe do like a short sketch film, a short film about. And I think that's because it's these conversations spur and inspire the creativity to come out. So it's awesome, man. And I think this is it. This is it. I was feeling like, okay, we doing these streams, but we don't have thumbnail, we don't have this, we don't have that behind it. But okay, this is the purpose. If people want to see what we're up to next, what type of story I'm gonna create, they come on here and they see this interview first. They see our discussions, our live streams, and they'll get the gist of what our next production is gonna be. So yeah, you can bet that my next production is gonna be something involved in this concept around eternal waters, around um, um, manipulation of energy that's coming from an unknown source, a source that's deep that we can all access if we are, as my brother was just talking about,
You
tapped
know,
into.
we know where the source is.
Oh, we do know.
We know where the source is, yeah. And this is why, and I don't know if we're getting like biblical, not to get biblical, but all the
All right.
books tell us where this energy comes from.
Okay.
I mean, even like before Jesus, before John the Baptist, you know what I'm saying? You had
Right.
all these hidden messages that were pointing to the creator, the one, right? We all are an aspect of the one. And when we all come together, that's when the energy gets super big and super powerful,
Okay.
you know? So, yeah, like doing these is one, my pleasure. Um,
For sure.
getting these ideas out, but you're fit for this because we've always been told the stories, and the stories always had hidden messages, but they also had morale. It had, you know, lessons that when we saw, we didn't have to repeat them. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They were lessons that were brought down to us from generations, so that we wouldn't have to make those same mistakes, and we could avoid that and keep going on the track. There's one less thing against us. You get what I'm saying? And then
Facts.
we have to do that for the next generation, the next generation of kids that are growing up, or communities that are growing. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. For sure,
And
my brother.
while you're doing that, we also have Dab Farms reintroducing the fresh,
For
you know,
sure.
growing techniques, tips, tricks, you know, auctions, going to Saturday markets, and building that community and telling
Right.
stories and passing down morals and traditions that matter, you know.
Facts. Dad Farms info will be in the link in bio. So if you want to get tapped into that, just go in the description below, and all of that section of DAB will be available to you. Um, my brother does a lot of research into microgreens and all the properties associated with that. So if you want to get tapped in, you're gonna find all that info in the links below. It's DAB, man. That's what we pride ourselves on. It's just the knowledge, self betterment in every aspect, especially health and being self sufficient. And we got big things coming in the future, man. So y'all just gotta stay tuned. We're just going up from here, and we definitely is just about building a community, and just uh, being relatable, being something that you guys can turn to um, in your hours of need. If you guys need inspiration, hope, and you want to learn something new, man, we're all on this journey together. So you already know what time it is, man. It's DAB, man.
It's DAB.
It's DAB, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all the time we got for today, man. Thanks for tapping into this episode of the Eternal Waters. Um, Man, as we get things going, I'm gonna get the Patreon up and running, where we can do things like vote on the next topic, or what you guys want to see. So I'll be definitely crafting a type of script and storyboard of what type of crazy um, story, what type of crazy things my imagination will cook up. And with that being said, man, yeah, it's gonna be a dope short film that it's gonna be some type of dope visual that you guys are gonna be able to watch. So with that being said, man, you know, I'm Jamal Dabney, your host. That's my brother, and this DAB. We gonna hit that
That's
joint
funny.
out. That's it.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm going. Hold on.
But
Yeah, it's like, I'll, but
I
yeah,
didn't
that's
even
dope.
get
That's dope.
into the whole aspect of the Alaska thing.
Mhm.
And that was already, what, 34 minutes?